Hello, this is Diablo68 from Gaming Existence, and this is a 7-minute review. Today we're looking at Stellaris, so let's get into it. Race customization is one of the things I love about 4X games, and as far as the cosmetic feel of Stellaris, they've done a really good job of being able to choose what your race looks like, the city appearance, flag, different symbols. You can spend quite a bit of time playing around with this. Where I feel the game fails is with the trait system. You can only have a handful of traits, a few pluses, a few minuses, and these differences don't really feel like you adapt your race enough for my liking. Even with a government, an ethics wheel, so you can choose what kind of ethics your people have. Again, these are small pluses and minuses. It doesn't really feel like it has that impact going in. Even the government type that you have, whether it's a democracy, it just doesn't feel strong enough going into the game for me. Stellaris is played in real time, but as you can see at the bottom here, there's a big pause button, so it can give you that 4X feel. You can pause it when you have big decisions to make. How the game works, you have a map just like sort of most 4X games. This one is in space, so it's based on more like different systems that you go to. So your ships can fly to different systems like this. If you then go into a system, you then have planets, and these have sort of a different surface of what you can build. Unlike most 4X games, you don't have an industry, a science kind of thing going on. Instead, what you have is sort of real-time resources, much more like an RTS. So you gather resources each month that it will come up, and you will gain those onto your resources. When you build buildings, it's an instant cost. So if you don't have the 51 minerals to build this, you can't build it. And it gives you a time of how long it's going to take. It doesn't have a sort of an industry point of it's going to take a certain amount of turns because it's done in real time. This is sometimes quite interesting. It makes it a bit easier to understand. If I've got the resources, I can build it. It's going to take that long. But also it makes it harder to sort of queue up different buildings and things when you're playing the game. Another one of the things I love about 4X games is the research tree, and Stellaris doesn't give you a research tree. How it works is the fact that it gives you, every time you complete your research, it then gives you 3 random researches to go through. So you've got 3 different sort of tiers that you go through, and each time you do one, you'll get 3 random researches to choose from. You can increase this later on, but at the start, it's 3 random researches. And, it's quite an interesting system. I think Stellaris, they try to make it so it's kind of like you role play your way through a 4X game, but it can get pretty annoying when you really need a research and it just keeps not coming up. It can get pretty annoying doing that. As far as the researchers go, it doesn't feel like there's a massive impact. You never feel like you're aiming towards something. You just hope that a decent research is going to come up. And even then, a different laser, a different this, it doesn't really feel like a massive impact on the game. Ship design in Stellaris is actually pretty good. I really quite like it. You unlock your better ships and things as you go along. Battleship's the best one so far. And you can, you've got a bit of customization. You can customize the 3 different sections of your ship, and these are all different loadouts that you can have. So depending if you want, fighters or smaller weapons, whatever it is you want, you can fit ships for different roles. Once you've done a few upgrades, you get, basically you have your long-range artillery, your short-range stuff, whatever it is you want to do. And each thing you put on there adds to its sort of power settings, and then you get different utilities, shields and things like that, engines. It's quite sedate. There's not a huge amount of customization, but there's enough that you can have ships fulfilling different roles, and you can actually see that really work when you go to combat. When it comes to combat, you don't actually have control over your ships. You sort of just send them in, because really what you've done, you've designed your fleet in the ship designer, so you've got your short range, you've got your long range weapons, and that's really the main thing of Stellaris. This just gives you a nice little visual of how the combat is actually going to work out for you. It's quite nice. It's quick. It doesn't take a lot of time. There isn't any micromanagement, so you can still focus on all the other things you need to do. Yet you still get to see some nice little visuals of ships blowing up. Just a nice little addition to the game. So quick fire a few pros and cons about the game, and that is the fact that you have heroes, and these heroes you go in fleets on planets as scientists, and it's quite cool that you have them and you see them like get stars. They get different experience as they go through. They don't have a skill tree, so it's just random what they get. And what can also be quite annoying is the fact that you tend to go through points where they just all die of old age. Stellaris is supposed to be a kind of game that you role play as you go along, but it gets pretty annoying when all of a sudden all 9 of your leaders die and you need to get them back again. As you start getting to the mid and late point of the game, you start expanding your empire out quite a bit. And like in most 4X games, you start getting to a sort of a micromanagement nightmare. And Stellaris tries to resolve that by forcing you to create sectors. Basically, if you start colonizing too many planets, you get minuses to your economy, and then you need to hand over sections to the computer. So you create a sector, so you select what you want in your sector as you go along, and then the computer manages that sector for you. And you have a few sort of rudimentary things focus more on energy or money or resources, and you have a few different things you can build, but generally the sectors just don't really work. It just annoys me. You can't maximize what you want out of them. It does reduce the micromanagement, but it's kind of it just annoys me the fact that it reduces your micromanagement, but you know you're not maximizing what you can get out of those sectors. So a super quick summary for Stellaris, and the start of the game is quite good. You send out your little science ships which go and explore and scan things. The ship design is really good. The combat is pretty good. It's got a lot going for it, but it's got so many little niggly things. The sectors don't quite work. Ethics divergence of people that you go around, going to war, combat, taking over people's planets. It's just got so many niggly, annoying things that really let Stellaris down and makes me stop playing it. I feel like there could be a Stellaris 2 to resolve a lot of these issues, but this one just doesn't quite have it for me. This was Diablo 68 from Game in Existence, and that was my 7-minute review for Stellaris. I've got a much longer review where I go into a crazy rant about the sectors. If you do want to have a look at that, it's up to you. So yeah, have a look at my other videos.